Today we're going to be talking about how some of the things that you're doing to try and manage your anxiety are actually making your anxiety worse. Hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking about safety behaviors, which are really important factors that contribute to making anxiety worse, but which most people don't know about and most people don't really understand. But before I get into that, just a couple of disclaimers to go over. I'm a registered psychologist in the province of British Columbia, Canada, and this video is for informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute or replacement for advice from your doctor or mental health professional. Now, with those things out of the way, let's start talking about safety behaviors. Now, in previous videos, I've talked about how avoidance maintains anxiety and the importance of exposure and exposure therapy as a way of overcoming anxiety conditions. And once you understand it, exposure actually makes a lot of sense and is something that a lot of people know about, as we commonly refer to it as facing our fears. So exposure therapy, in theory, can make a lot of sense and a lot of people can understand it. However, there's another major factor that tends to drive and maintain anxiety, and it's something that's called safety behaviors. And one way of thinking about safety behaviors is that these behaviors are more subtle forms of avoidance that people will engage in to try and reduce their anxiety. Essentially, safety behaviors are anything that a person does in order to help make themselves feel safer, but without having any substantial impact on actually making them any safer. And you'll find safety behaviors in all of the anxiety disorders, and sometimes they can be subtle and not obviously related to the anxiety itself. So some examples: if I have a fear of driving, I may leave more space between me and the car in front of me because it feels safer to have an 8 car lengths buffer. If I have panic disorder, I may stop drinking coffee because I know it gets my heart rate going quickly, and if it gets going too quickly, I might have a panic attack. I might avoid wearing bright or flashy clothes if I have social anxiety. If I have health anxiety, I may research symptoms of rare conditions to see if that might relate to me. So I think you get the point. There's all sorts of things that people can do to try and help themselves feel safer depending on whatever type of anxiety they have. But you may also be wondering, well, what's the big deal about this? So what? If I'm doing these things and it makes me feel safer, what's so wrong with that? So what if I'm not wearing flashy clothes? So what if I'm leaving more space between me and other cars? What's the big deal about that if it makes me feel better? Isn't the whole point to feel safe? And if I'm feeling safe, won't that help reduce my anxiety? Those are all very good points. But that's exactly the way anxiety would like you to think. And so to explain the problem of safety behaviors, I like to use a metaphor with my clients. And this metaphor is the rock that keeps the aliens away. So suppose I have this terrible fear of aliens. Terrified that every time I leave my house, I'm going to get abducted by aliens. And they're going to take me out into space, probe me, do all sorts of unspeakable things to me. And that's a terrifying thought. I'm absolutely terrified of that. Now, suppose one day I come across a rock, and for whatever reason, I believe that this rock has magical powers that helps keep aliens away. And as long as I carry that rock with me, I'm protected from aliens. They won't come down and get me, and I'll be perfectly safe. So every time I leave my house, I carry the rock with me. And lo and behold, I never get abducted by aliens. Well, what will my conclusion be in that situation? Well, the conclusion is the rock must be keeping me safe, right? It's got to be the rock. The rock is what's helping protect me. Now, suppose one day I leave my house and I happen to be preoccupied before I walk out the front door and I forget the rock. And I go about my day doing my daily activities, and when I come home, I realize that I had left the rock at home and I'd gone out about my day without it. Well, at first this may freak me out, and I might think to myself that I really dodged one this time, and that thankfully the aliens weren't patrolling our solar system that day. However, this may also get me thinking that it seems a bit unusual that I wasn't abducted even though I didn't have the rock. So maybe what I do is a little experiment in bravery, and I decide to go out the next day without the rock and see what happens. So I go out the next day without the rock, and once again, I don't get abducted. So I do this a third time, and a fourth time, and a fifth time. And I keep doing this again and again and again, leaving the house without the rock. By the 1,000th time I've left my house without the rock and I don't get abducted, what do you think has happened to my fear of being abducted by aliens? Well, it's likely going to be pretty low. I'm probably not going to be all that fearful of being abducted by aliens because I've had all of these experiences leaving my house without the rock and nothing bad happened. I wasn't abducted by the aliens even though I didn't have the rock. So you see, the problem with carrying around the rock is that the rock actually maintained my fear of aliens. Because as long as I was carrying around the rock with me, I could never know whether it was the rock that was keeping the aliens away and keeping me safe, or if it was the fact that there aren't aliens and that I don't have to be afraid of aliens. The rock doesn't have any magical powers. It's not keeping me safe. But as long as I carry that rock with me, I'm behaving in a way and subconsciously telling myself that there is danger and threat, that I am at risk of being abducted. But once I stopped carrying the rock, I come to learn that I don't actually have to be afraid of aliens, and that the rock is just a rock. So you see, this is the problem of safety behaviors. Safety behaviors are those rocks that keep aliens away. Safety behaviors maintain anxiety because by engaging in the safety behaviors, you don't allow yourself to know what's keeping you safe. Is it the safety behavior that's keeping you safe? Or is it the fact that the world isn't dangerous and isn't as scary as the anxiety is telling you it is? But by engaging in the safety behaviors, you're maintaining and fueling your anxiety without even knowing it, because you're behaving as if there's something to be fearful of. The safety behaviors represent an underlying message that you're telling yourself without even knowing that you're telling yourself those things. So the take-home point of all of this is that not everything that makes you feel safe is actually making you safe. It is actually a good thing. So when I'm working with my clients on helping reduce their anxiety, we don't just focus on exposure to the feared situations. We also focus on exposure with dropping those safety behaviors as well. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that gives you a better sense of safety behaviors and the role that safety behaviors play in anxiety. I'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas about this, so please leave me some comments in the comments section down below. If you've been enjoying my videos and would like to see more, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell, and you'll be alerted every week when I post a new video. So that's all for today's video. As always, thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video, and I will see you in the next one.